right now.
Oh yes, right now, all around the circuit, there is one word that photographers are using, and that's light. This is where you get the light that they just cherish, and it just does look picture perfect right now.
I would stress that when we do get the helicopter shots and the blimp shots, there are camps, little campsites around. I've been asked a few times about them. Those are for the marshals that are staying out on those various points around the circuit. So the campsites, obviously nowhere near as large as you would expect to see, but there are little campsites close to the circuit, a slightly larger one near the Porsche curves, and those are being utilised by the officials and the marshals, and they are heavily policed. So there is no chance at all that any public would be able to get anywhere near, other than standing on a public road. You probably could watch from the roundabout at Mulsanne. You get close enough in public to be able to see the cars go past.
There's certainly a very heavy police presence at the access roads.
And you don't mess with the police in France.
No, I certainly opted not to.
Antonio Felix da Costa. Sorry, Antonio Felix da Costa's car, the 38, now with Roberto Gonzalez. And was that Jonathan Hershey going past him? I think it may well have been. So Jota losing a spot there, down to 6th spot in class. He's got some... Roberto is the silver-rated driver in that car. He's got some great experience to help him along. I expect to see that car go a bit further forward. That was a bit of a dive.
That was a bit of a dive. That was very close indeed.
And we're right on board with the Dragon Speed USA 21 car, which is Juan Pablo Montoya. Now, Montoya is a lap down from this battle.
Yep, 10th in class, 14th overall. As one of the Toyotas goes powering by again.
I don't feel we've really made enough of Juan Pablo Montoya being here, because of course he is one of those guys that could do the Triple Crown. There's so much chat and so much publicity around Fernando Alonso's campaigns the last couple of years. Sorry for using that word. I know a lot of people on Twitter have been like, don't use that word, don't use his name. But because I guess Juan Pablo was a last-minute addition, we haven't really made so much of a thing of it.
I mean, the fact of the matter is we have two internationally renowned drivers of supreme talent that are one race away from the recognised Triple Crown, and that recognised Triple Crown is the Monaco Grand Prix. Juan Pablo's won that, the Indy 500, he's won that twice. He's lacking Le Mans. In the case of Fernando, the one he's lacking is the Indy 500, and of course he's having a go at that. Well, Juan Pablo's here. He's very unlikely to win this race overall.
And does it have to be an overall victory?
It has to be an overall victory.
Okay.
It's for the recognised Triple Crown. But here's the point. Things are about to change in sports car racing. All sorts of pieces are on the table all of a sudden, and I don't know whether or not he's got the hunger for that, but there may well be opportunities next year or the year after to step up to the new top class. He's been in DPI. It's effectively an evolution of that that's coming in a couple of years. Who's to say that he's not the man that's going to do it? Because certainly, much as he's had a brave go at it a couple of times, the Indy 500 is not within the grasp at the moment of Fernando Alonso.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Alan and I were talking about Juan Pablo a little bit earlier on, and Alan said he's like a kid in a sweet shop. So Alan actually went and saw him today during the race even, and he said he's absolutely loving it out there. Which
is great. I mean, that's what you want to see. You want to see these superstars that bring with them not only talent and speed, but also enthusiasm from people who are interested in motorsport, perhaps not this sort of motorsport. The fact that he is here is going to bring thousands and thousands of people's enthusiasm to this race. And let's hope by discovering that, they stay, because that's what it needs. I'm delighted he's here.
TF Sports in a battle for second right now in the GTM class. Jonathan Adam with Augusto Farfus behind him, and Rino Mastronardi in the Iron Lynx Ferrari not far behind either. But what about Johnny Adam versus Augusto Farfus? That's a tasty little battle in GTM.
It is, and they're, yeah, nose to tail at the moment with a Porsche right up behind them as well.
Now, I'm saying that's the top of the diffuser, isn't it, that we're seeing
there was a late look by that Porsche. Did you see that? And Augusto just straight lined the corner because he didn't want to turn in because it looked like the Porsche was going to have a go.
And that is Fred Makovicky in the 91 car, the Porsche that is running.
Of course, different classes.
Kevin Estra's just brought the 92 car back onto circuit, having had a service for power steering issues, and that car is now about 8-9 laps down.
36 minutes, nearly 37 minutes in the pits for the number 92 car. It sits in 57th position of the 58 current runners. Into race control. Eduardo Freitas there is back to us.
And our leading LMP2 in the pits, Hopin Tung in the 37. Jackie Chan DC car.
I wonder how long a stint Eduardo does. Who's his backup?
He does it all, doesn't he?
I think he does the lot.
Yeah.
The whole 24.
I think he does.
Wow.
I think he does. There's a number of people do it, like a lot of the race engineers do. But I think he does. Whether or not he takes some kind of rest break, I'm not sure if he does much on that front. Because of course the point being is, when most of us see the bit of downtime, that's when he's busy. Because when we've got some kind of interruption, some kind of full course caution or a slow zone or a red flag, we're not had a red flag forever here, but that's when he's at his busiest. So I don't think he does. I'll be honest, I've never asked him, but it's a great question.
Well, get asking. Text him now.
I will do if you like. But,
yeah, no, I want to know that. Everyone wants to know that.
I'm going to pass on some best wishes, by the way, to someone we know that traditionally does 24 hours of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. It's not very well at the moment, and that's Paul Truswell, the statistician that works with Radio Le Mans.
Yes.
Paul's been struggling, and whether or not he's listening, or whether or not you're close to him and he's listening, we're thinking of you, Paul. You've been a huge part of this race for the whole of my level of interest in it. Keep fighting.
So it looks like Lopez going on board there in the car 7.
Yeah, first time we've seen Pachito Lopez aboard that car. Mike Conway did a quadruple stint. Kamui Kobayashi, is that a quadruple? Yes, it is. So all going to plan in the number 7. A slight advantage for them if you haven't been following the full race. A puncture early doors for Sebastian Buemi, rear left, and therefore an extra, well, not quite an extra stop because they're just a little bit out of sequence. And it might still, if we do get a safety car period, all equal out. But for the moment, really, apart from that very strange incident at the start of the race with the Porsche crashing just here, not too much.
We've got
we've got Spirit of Race off.
55, and that's who's aboard that car at the moment. That is Duncan Cameron. Has he gone straight on?
It doesn't look like he's had contact.
I don't think he has
judging by
he?
his skid marks.
Here we go. Just looped it around under brakes. Maybe slightly disturbed.
There's the mirror.
The mirror's hanging off.
The mirror's hanging off in the wheel arch.
So maybe there was a bit of contact with the LMP2 car that came past.
Is it his mirror?
Maybe he's
I have a feeling his mirror was still attached on that side.
Okay. Alpine looking like they're getting ready. I don't know whether there's a... Sometimes you get messages from our TV director pointing fingers at certain things. I don't know whether they were around that area at the time of the incident.
I'd be interested to see if that car's got a mirror on its, what would it be, its right-hand side, wouldn't it? And the answer is that it does, I think.
Well, 36 had just passed for position, because remember, that was held up quite early on in the race, wasn't it? So it's up to 17th, I think, something like that.
Yeah, they had an issue with a water leak on lap 1, brought the car into the pits. The engine had overheated, but they managed to fix any issues. There's no scrape marks along the side of that, the right-hand side of that car, so...
No, the overtaking manoeuvre happened just behind the Ferrari, so the Ferrari had spun. We didn't see the beginning of it, so it definitely wasn't contact with that particular 36 car.
Just after 5 hours worth of running here at Le Mans, Toyota leads Toyota 8 ahead of 7, although 7 has the advantage in the in the various pit stop cycles. Then it's Rebellion ahead of Rebellion, 1 versus 3. And then at the moment, Jackie Chan, 37, leads G-Drive Racing, Mikael Lentzen, 26, and Will Owen in the United Autosports, 32 in LMP2. Then we go down to GT Pro. And it's AF Course 1-2. Suddenly come alive, those Ferraris in these conditions. David Rigon with a 2.5-second lead over Daniel Serra. And then Harry Tinknell in the first of the Astons. Half a minute back is Richard Westbrook in the second. And Porsche really having a mare of things. The 91 with Fred Makovicki, and the 92 with issues further back. TF Sport lead Aston Martin Racing in GTM. Johnny Adam versus Augusto Farfus right now in that category. And then we start going down to the cars that have had some issues. Baicoles have had issues. Bruno Spengler's at the wheel of that. High Class have been in the pits as well. Euro-Asia was parked in the barriers for a while. And we've actually only got one retiree, and that is the 11 car of Euro International. So, Spirit of Race, presumably with a puncture, limping that slowly back to the pits, having just simply done a spin.
Decision number 76 or 78,
Eduardo Freitas
78 gives a drive-through to car number 56 for overtaking.
I can report, by the way, with thanks to Matthew Pigg, who looks after one of the big Facebook groups that looks after fans for this race and WC, that he believes that Eduardo takes a 4-hour break in the night.
Okay.
And that is indeed Duncan Cameron's mirror. And
well, he's obviously going slowly because he's got damage somewhere, but we didn't. He's got a puncture.
Tyre's gone.
Front left. So would that have been a cause or effect?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I would agree with that. Both of those things.
Drive through for the 56 car.
When he was sitting there having spun, we couldn't see that side of the car.
Yeah, okay.
So, and it would make sense that he would spin that way with a rear left puncture.
Yeah.
You do tend to get a warning though. On board nowadays, you get they've got tyre pressure monitor system.
Yeah, so as Graham said, drive-through penalty for car 56 for overtaking under yellow flag. That is the second penalty for them. They had a 1-minute stop-go last time for slow zone infringement. So they really, and I think it may even well be the same driver. Just trying to see who's in that car right now. Yeah, Edigo Perfetti is the same driver. So they were right at the sharp end of our GTM field, and unfortunately now, well, that's going to put them down even further and well out of contention. We've actually only got, at the moment, 5 cars on the lead lap there. Jonathan Adam leads Augusto Farfus by 1.5 seconds. Rino Mastronardi in touch as well, making it a 3-car battle. Com Ledegar is in there driving a Ferrari, although he runs Porsches in Carrera Cup France. And then Francois Perrodo is the last car on that lead lap right now. Although we've got a couple of cars that have had pit stops.
so, sun heading rapidly for the horizon in front of us here, overlooking the Ford chicane. Light is dipping, golden colour across the gravel traps under the Dunlop Bridge. Headlamps beginning to fulfil their second purpose. Well, one is to be seen, the other one is to see. We're going to get pretty rapidly into the point where they're going to need them.
So we're going to have a slow zone because that tyre has kind of fallen apart and spread itself across the first part of the Mulsanne Straight. So slow zone from here onwards while the marshals clear up all of that debris. And it's not just rubber in that tyre, is it, Peter? The tyre is made up of all kinds of different materials, including
steel,
nasty bits of metal.
Yeah. See, you're kind of stuck in a situation where you want to get back to the pits as quickly as possible. You're miles away from the pits, and yet you need to go slow. It's better if that tyre survives and the carcass survives on the car, because you saw it all whipping around. Now that will damage that Ferrari, damage the bodywork, so they'll have to spend more time fixing the car once it's back in the pits.
There is one part, there's another part, and there's the marshals getting ready literally hundreds of, if not thousands of marshals for the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
2,000 plus, I think we were told.
A huge army of marshals, some of which travel from across the world to come here. Obviously, there'll be a slightly more local presence this year due to circumstances we all know about. And that marshal desperately, it looks like he's in the starting blocks for a 100-meter race, desperate to go and grab that piece of tyre. Great effort. And with the mask on as well. Have you tried running with a mask on? It's horrific.
I did a little bit of cycling with the mask on yesterday, and yes, it's not easy, is it?
There's not the airflow that you would once expect. Back up to speed then, and here is the battle for GT Am lead. Now, Graham, explain a little bit, because I've seen some comments on Twitter about why can you have platinum drivers like Johnny Adam and Augusto Farfus in a GT Am car?
Because GT Am, it's you've only got restrictions on 2 of the drivers. So you can have 2 non-professionally ranked drivers, which are silver and bronze. But beyond that, there is the freedom to have at least 1 that is at platinum level. So these regulations do change over time. There's a current debate about what's going to happen for next season. I think we are going to see a change for LMP2 with a variety of options there on the table. But it's got to be said, across this 22-car field, and there's Duncan Cameron, by the way, making his way slowly off track to the inside, driver's right, almost at Mulsanne corner now. He's still got a long way to come back.
Well, you'd say that's a that's the furthest away point. So yeah, he's really has got a long way to come back.
Because obviously it went effectively almost within sight of pit out.
And also the other thing about the GT Am field, whilst it's still GTE, it is a different type of car to the GTE Pro cars. It used to be that it was 1 year old, it was a 1 year generation behind.
No, it still is. Okay. So the differences between the two, there's a different balance of performance. So generally speaking, there's possibly going to be a different weight for the GT Am cars, because each of these have got a regulated weight. They will be slightly less powerful. They have to be cars that have been homologated at least a year before. And what that means this year is that actually the Aston Martins and the Ferraris are identical. The Porsche is 1 previous iteration. So the current year's Pro cars, the 2020 Pro cars, the 911 RSR 19, 2019, will be in GT Am competition in the WEC and in the LMS next year. And indeed, already car sales have been made. Heard from Christian Reed earlier in the year. He has 4 of those new cars in the garage ready to go. They'll be tested, I believe, from next week. And we'll wait and hear what MT Proton Racing, Proton Competition will do with those cars. So the idea really is to give an opportunity for the manufacturers involved in GTE racing, which is somewhat troubled at the moment. Obviously, we're seeing the number of factories involved reduce. It's to give them a customer marketplace. And on the basis that we have 22 cars in the customer class, this class has potentially got, here at Le Mans and elsewhere, a little way to go yet. They're not ready to make any knee-jerk reactions about GT Am right now.
When you look at the entry to this 88th running of Le Mans 24 Hours and understand the investment that's come from gentlemen drivers for private companies, not from manufacturers of automobiles, it is remarkable. For every GTE Pro car that unfortunately could not make it due to traveling in COVID, there was another GTE Am car privately funded that was there to take up the option, and it is remarkable to see. And it's always been like that at Le Mans especially. It is all motorsport in general started from rich man racing their road cars.
Go back and have a look at the results of the Le Mans 24 Hours back in the 20s and 30s, and not a lot of factory teams there. It's got to be said. It's people investing in their passion, and that's what it still is today. You're absolutely right, Ben, about the GT Am class. It is often overlooked as being, if you like, the junior class here. We've lost, by my reckoning, from the original entry for the Le Mans 24 Hours, I think we've lost 13 cars.
Wow.
And we've still got 59. And by the way, it's not that long ago where we wouldn't have even got 59 as a maximum entry here at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, despite the huge economic challenges that are out there at the moment in our current modern world. This is alive and kicking, and there's a lot of people here that love what they do and are still investing and spending in their passion and our passion, and I know your passion at home as well, and more power to them, whether or not it's the factories, the professional race teams, or those gentlemen drivers like Duncan Cameron, who, having made his fortune and being a very clever man and done that, I'm delighted that he's decided to spend some of that fortune and some of that time investing not only in a fantastic race car, but in the talents of people like Aaron Scott and Matt Griffin. Lots and lots of professional racing drivers owe their living to these amateur drivers.
And teams, team bosses,
absolutely,
mechanics, engineers.
Yep.
It's a massive industry in the UK, isn't it?
It is.
Well, worldwide even.
And they've all got, you know, hugely inspiring stories. You know, there's some household names as well. We've got the 88 car off the road.
Oh no, and that is
Don Bastien, I think. Now let's have a look. That is Dominique Bastien, indeed.
Already been patched up. I have a feeling that might be he's just outbraked himself at Arnage.
Okay.
I don't know. There's no message to say there's even a yellow flag, so perhaps he's parked up in the car park in the Subaru in Mulsanne, but it doesn't seem like he's on track according to our timing screen.
I think he just had a bit of a moment there.
Now, we were watching from above these two LMP2 cars trying to get past traffic, and the second blue machine, which I couldn't see exactly who it was, got pretty badly bulked going through karting. The 42 car it was, so that is Alexandra Coyne in the Cool Racing machine. They've had a great day already with 2 podiums in the Road to Le Mans series, and that is the way to get these the drivers of the future, not the young guns, because a lot of people of the drivers of the future are not young guns as we switch to Don Bastien.
Does indeed look like straight on Arnage, and no damage by the look of it there.
No. Strange that there's no yellow flag flying though. There must be, and we're just not seeing it on our timing screens.
As we're watching Don just prepare himself, ready to get back into action. Sun is more or less down now, just behind the clouds on the horizon.
There's a nice couple of tweets coming through on Don Bastien now. Alistair Cummins saying, "It still gives me hope if there's a 74-year-old racing at Le Mans." Yep, you've still got a chance to make your fortune and have a chance at racing here at Le Mans.
If only I didn't have those 2 problems, no fear and no talent.
Into the pits for another time comes our Toyotas. It's really the only chance we're getting to see the Toyotas, really, is when they cycle through their pit stops. And I do hope around the world you're creating a Le Mans experience at home. I know so many people have put up tents in their gardens, put up projectors, made sure they've got the beer in the paddling pool, and lighting up a barbecue. Hopefully you've got good enough weather to do that wherever you are. If you're in South Africa, I know we've got a lot of listeners in South Africa, that'll be a braai to you. I've said that badly, I know, you'll be upset, but...
Twitter's going to light up now.
Yeah. And we're swapping around. Peter, what have you seen?
I'm just looking out at the sun going down. We're not going to get quite that lovely...
no, we're not.
It's not a full sun, there's too much cloud around.
God damn it.
That cloud coming in.
And tyres going on. Tyres being readied. Now, what's he doing at the front of the car there? Reaching down to try and unblock
some kind of vents that you would think. Didn't we have one of the Toyotas a little earlier where it needed a bit of a clean out to cool the brakes? I think we did. Yeah,
the front, and it was that brake, wasn't it? It was steaming slightly. What he's doing is reaching into the ducting. You can see the hole underneath the light there, and he's trying to... A bit of cleaning going on. Hey, we do have pit reporters with us, and Hayley Evans is down in pit lane at the moment. Well, I didn't personally hear what you had to say, Hayley. It was a bit noisy in my ears, but now you're on air. You can tell the world.
Yeah, so I'm currently down in the riding school. I just did an interview with their driver, the number 28 car, Richard Bradley. Now, he just told me, he said, normally Le Mans, you know, sometimes it takes a while to pick up pace and excitement and such like it. He said that, but my stint that I just did is something worthy of an action movie. He said they were probably the know, the public is known to be missing. I mean, what it's like from his point of view. He said, you know, it's of course terribly sad to see the empty grandstands, but he just really hoped they're being able to put on a show, and just the fact that 24 hours of Le Mans is going on, well, they're just so happy to be able to participate.
Thank you very much, Hayley Edmonds down the pits. Great to hear the enthusiasm from our drivers. Richard Bradley, a great character. And do you know what? I really like this September timing for Le Mans. It adds certain different things, and well, we're seeing it now. It feels. I woke up this morning and thought, I wonder if you could just keep it in September. What will we do?
You know what's going to happen? They do that now because you've said it. They'll do it, and we'll come back. The weather will be awful, and it will be your fault.
No, the weather is the same temperature every between June and September. The only difference is there is sometimes, well, no, on average, there's more rain in September.
But it always rains at Le Mans.
But it always rains at Le Mans anyway, so.
So we saw the change of position, first and second place in GTM, the two Aston Martins. So Gusto Farfus, third driver in that car. I think it's his first race in an Aston Martin, isn't it? He's doing the job.
Just making his way back into pit lane after a heroic return to the pits, and it's both. Is it both tyres down on that side?
Front left and
rear left has got damage.
The rear left doesn't look happy, that's for sure. And this is why. And I wonder whether it was just simply deflated from that massive spin,
or whether there was a touch with that other P2 car that was in the vicinity.
What's got me a little confused is what took the mirror off, and I wonder if it delaminated and that flailed the mirror off. So I think it was probably, oh dear me.
No, it's got both. So it has got both tyres, and that also looks a bit like it might be suspension.
That rear left tyre has delaminated. You could see it. It looks like it's still up.
It does.
It's got air in it.
That was what was confusing me from the side. Now you can see the damage clearly.
Well, that's a mission.
That's huge damage to that car.
And it's like I said, it's ripped the back of that car to bits. So, I mean, it's not like he's come in super quick, but it looked like he was unlucky there. So the tyre's hard. Look, it's got air in it, but it's delaminated.
Peter, why have they put the driver in that car? Surely that car is going in for repair.
I think it's standard practice that you do all the whole pit stop, then you assess, and then you decide what you're going to do with the car. But I'm pretty sure that's going to go back in the box as well.
There is a look at the damage. The dollies go under the jacks. Now the question mark is how that all happened. How do you get a front, rear, and mirror off? And what's going on in LMP2 down here?
That's a big
deep.
lock-up 32 car. That's the moment the lead of the two United Autosports car. That's Will Owen. He's currently running in third in LMP2, but that's not going to do any favours to those Michelins. That is a glorious sunset.
I'm not seeing that picture out of our window. Do you think that's from a different day, or?
No, that's because it's up a bit higher, isn't it?
I think that's from South Africa. I think that's them getting their own back. I think it's certainly a higher vantage point than we've got here, which is more or less on the ground.
I'm going to get a giraffe go in front of the picture and give it away.
Wildebeest, sweeping majestically across. Yes.
Yes, those well-known giraffes of Le Mans. Yeah. And now it starts to get just that little bit trickier for all of us to recognise the cars as the sun goes down and we go and plunge into the night.
Confirmed from Toyota that was a brake duct cooling problem for the 8 that they were foraging around trying to solve again.
How frustrating for the 8, because it has just had all of the bad luck, whereas number 7 is completely and utterly had the rub of the green throughout the race so far.
But that was the case last year until the late part of the race, and heartbreak for the 7 crew. Surely not again. Surely not again. You talked a little earlier about talking a lot about the cars, not the people. The raw emotion involved here is always an eye-opener.
And absolutely, when we get into the depths of the night and into the early morning, you'll be seeing plenty of slow-mos of people sleeping.
Oh, yeah.
That is for sure. And let's not forget, we talk so much about these drivers as we ride on board with the all-female lineup in LMP2, supported by the FIA, Richard Mille Racing. And hello to Michel Mouton, who will be out at Rally Turkey, who's kind of put this thing together, really.
Le Mans class winner, Michel Mouton,
yes.
back in the 70s. Doesn't like to be reminded of that. She says it's all about the girls here. Doesn't want to talk about that, but we should remember that she's not just an astonishing rally driver back in the day, but also was successful in endurance racing in an all-female crewed prototype.
And I imagine right now she is sitting, hopefully she's got back to her hotel in Turkey. She is the safety delegate of the WRC and therefore runs every stage before the rallies begin and moves off pesky fans away from dangerous areas. She will be sitting in the hotel right now, hopefully on her phone, watching us.
And hopefully with a very nice glass of red, Michelle.
Yes, Turkish red.
Congratulations for this initiative. Much needed. We talked at length about moving forward to provide opportunity and rather than tokenism, and I know that's something that they're very keen on.
As we see the 91 car head out of pit lane, Hayley Evans is still in pit lane, and I think she's down at Spirit of Race.
That's correct. I'm down here in the garage of Spirit of Race, and I've just been told that the car actually came in without a door. However, they weren't aware that the rear wing has pretty much been ripped off too, so they're currently working on that. I can't get any closer to the car because there's obviously lots of mechanics rushing around. But what can I say? What can I see? Sorry, it's missing a door, and I say to all the rear wing is totally ripped off as well.
Do we have any idea how that happened? Have you managed to talk to anybody to find out? We haven't really seen it on air.
I've just asked, but as I say, I asked one of the guys who said he didn't know what happened or how it happened. I guess I could just kind of go on and maybe ask Matt. Well, I'll get back to you if I get any more information, okay?
All right, thank you, Hayley.
Dazzling lights now.
Looks for the floppy hair of Duncan Cameron.
Absolutely. Stylishly floppy. Stylishly floppy.
Stylishly floppy.
But light rapidly disappearing now. There's the Goodyear blimp on the horizon as the number 7 car turns into the Porsche curves, and stay on board with this. What a ride in these LMP1 hybrids. The last year, of course, that we're going to see these cars in anger. So close we came to a record-breaking qualifying lap, just a bit of track limits.
And now, right now, talking about breaking records, we're well ahead of breaking the distance record at Le Mans if you were averaging out to the end of the race, because we've had pretty much green flag running throughout. We've had optimal conditions so far.
And rapid running.
So if we can stay away from the rain, then we could smash the distance record.
Just another 18.5 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all right. It's not a WEC race.
Well, this is the point. We are just now, what is it? We're 27 minutes away from what was until very recently a standard WEC race length.
Yep.
And there's been plenty of drama so far. Better still, though, plenty of really good racing.
Thank you for correcting me, because it is actually a WEC race. It is part of the championship, and you do win points for it.
Lots of points.
I know it's not the distance.
I've just spoken to the viewer, and they say they understood.
Yeah, the pedantic ones, like Hayley. On board with the 8 machine, then. Ducks cleared now. Ducts rather than ducks.
Quack, quack. that would be a major problem, wouldn't it?
We found one. With a duck in the duck.
There's nothing paltry about that. Now the 8 car follows through where the number 7 car went before. And that, by the way, those 2 shots and the gap between them gives you an idea of what the gap is on track. It's just over a minute and a half. Half a lap and more. Well, actually just under half a lap, rather. But in the garage with the Rebellion boys and girls. They're relaxing in for the long night ahead, and a much longer night, of course, this year than we've seen before in the modern era at the Le Mans 24 Hours. 4 hours more darkness. It's quite astonishing to think that just the few weeks since the due date for the Le Mans 24 Hours that it makes that big a difference, the darkness. 51 car getting attention, including driver change there.
Right, let's get down to Haley Edmonds, who is down with Spirit of Race and can perhaps shed some light on what happened to that car.
That's right, Matt. Could you just tell us what happened?
I don't know exactly what happened. It looks like we've had some sort of contact with the prototype into turn 1 when Duncan was driving. As you can see, it's done a huge amount of damage. It basically destroyed our race. I don't know the exact reason for it, or, you know, I suspect that the prototype was at fault because usually it's their job to pass us. It's just disappointing because we were going really well. Qualifying hadn't gone well, but we started P14th. I got the car up to P4, and now the race is ruined. Hopefully we can get it fixed and get out there and finish, but yeah, really disappointing.
Thank you very much.
Awesome to hear from Matt Griffin there, part of the Spirit of Race squad.
Yeah, they were the race winners last time out in the European Le Mans Series. In the second race we had at Paul Ricard, Into the Darkness there. So you could hear the disappointment, couldn't you, in Matt's voice.
Running well, but as suspected, I can't really see how you could get a puncture and a wing off, and the front and rear, without some kind of small contact with an LMP2 car. But there doesn't seem to be any LMP2 cars around that are carrying any issues. So a bit of a question mark as to who it was and how they got away with it.
Yep.
Driver change in the 95 car.
Yeah, so that was Richard Westbrook, and he will now hand over to one of the two Danes in the Dane train, Nicky Thiem, aboard the car. And if you haven't seen it already, go online and search out Nicky Thiem's little trick this morning. He is a bit of a joker, and in warm-up, he lost the front end going into Mulsanne, managed to gather it back up. Instead of recovering to turn right to get back onto the circuit, he went left, effectively outside the boundaries of the track, round the roundabout down there at Mulsanne corner, and then rejoin the circuit.
That was actually Sorensen, not Thiem, but it was Thiem tweeting about it, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was thinking that Nicky probably pre-planned that.
He might have put him up to it.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Never, ever have I seen a car go round that. Maybe it's an idea for the future that we can put the roundabout in the circuit.
Have all the cars crossing each other. That would be mega, yeah.
So Nicky Thiem aboard the Aston Martin. Alex Lynn is also now in Aston 97. And they are 15 seconds back from David Rigon in the Of Course Ferrari that leads. That is the 71 car ahead of the 51 car, which James Collado has got back aboard now. So
it's interesting. Early on, we had it was Aston Martin up the front for quite a while, and it seems that Ferrari gradually, as the afternoon's gone on into the evening, it's Ferrari that's got the pace now. They're a little bit quicker than the Aston Martins. I know they went onto the soft tyre, and I think maybe Aston Martin were still in the medium tyre, and that was the difference. But I would imagine Aston are getting onto that soft tyre now. Obviously, a new set of tyres will have gone on for Nicky Thiem.
Yeah, let's see the pace difference. It does look to me as though David Rigon with a 112 in the pits did not change tyres, and he was on a switched strategy to the rest of that front four battle. So he is now on his second stint on those tyres, whereas the other three, the 51, the 97 and the 95, have brand new Michelins, as we say hello to Sam Bird. He had a good stint earlier on to get his teammate up into P1. And let's see now how those respond. James Collado, new soft tyres. We know the Ferrari switched early. The question mark really is Aston Martin's strategy call.
You know, it's quite possible that a couple of things. Perhaps the Aston Martin uses the tyres harder and they couldn't risk going to the medium.
Yeah.
Sorry, from the medium to the soft. Or it could also be that they have a limited amount of soft tyres in their allocation and they decided not to use them quite yet. Maybe Ferrari are saying, well, we know we're going to get rain, let's just use the soft tyres now because we're going to go to rain. But it's jury's still out with the rain, isn't it? I mean, I think it will come at some stage, but you look at different forecasts, and on some forecasts, yeah, we're going to get 6 hours of it, and on other forecasts, we're going to get 1 or 2 hours of it. So it's up for debate.
Little bit of traffic for the 7 of Pachito Lopez to get round the Aston Martin there. Just slightly caught him at the wrong point, but navigated safely through the first couple of corners. Pachito Lopez in his second, the end of his first stint. His two teammates have each done quadruple stints aboard that car.
Had to back out of that one though, didn't he? He got the brakes on. He was going to fly by that P2 car, but he decided just to bide his time a little bit. There's no point in rushing. This race is not won in 4 hours. It's won at the end of 24, and we've seen many times the car leading the race for a lot of it. Something happening and it dropping down the order. So this is still wide open between all the. Well, let's be honest. By colours, no, probably not. But it's wide open for the 4 P1 cars running up front, 2 Rebellions and the 2 Toyotas.
Yeah, so there actually is around a lap between Nakajima in the 8 Toyota and Norman Nato in the number 1 Rebellion, and then there's another lap to Louis Delatraz in the 3. And I don't know whether we've really followed as to how the number 3 ended up a 1 lap down. It did have an engine cover change quite early on, but I don't think it took that long to do that. And I can't really see any other problems on our little script anyway.
Yeah. Well, we saw with Toyota a short time ago that extended pit stop with them clearing out duct. So you know, it's quite likely that
for the second time, Peter, for that for that duct clearing out as well. So they're clearly got a recurring problem. They don't know whether or not they're fixing it.
They are patching it up with a plaster.
That's got to be a worry.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. I mean, anything but anything. Of course, heat dissipation for the hybrids is a particular thorny issue. The way in which these cars generate that hybrid boost.
Now, this would be kind of golden hour, wouldn't it? Usually in a June race, but we're not really seeing particularly fast times coming through, and certainly the timing screen isn't lighting up like you would usually see at kind of 10:30 at night as high class bring their car into the garage.
That's the second time in the garage for this car. Ran very well at the front of the field in the early couple of hours, but trying to recall what the issue was to the 33. I'll have a quick look back down the list.
As TF Sport bring their car into the pits, Paul Danilana has taken over the Aston Martin 98 from Augusto Farfus. I wonder whether Johnny Adam will be handing over that Aston Martin TF Sport car to Sally Yolok.
I'll tell you, no, well, Sally was in already.
Oh yeah,
wasn't he? So no, it would. Let me just check on that.
I don't remember seeing Sally Yolok, but either way, we'll get the answer pretty soon.
No, it's going to go over to Charlie Eastwood.
Okay.
He started the race. Sally's been in for a double stint already.
Yeah, because these are tricky. One of the trickier times with this kind of not dark but not light conditions. You do want a little bit of experience from your driver to be able to deal with this at the moment.
This is actually, if you're first time driving in the dark, this is a good time to do it, because it's good as it gets dark. You take your speed from the daylight, let's say, and you take it into the darkness. But when you go directly into the darkness, it's hard to get yourself up to speed.
And is there a way, Graham, that you could avoid putting your gentleman driver in at night at all? I don't think you could you? Because it's so long.
It's more difficult now, of course, because of the length here. I think there's times when you would probably not want to put them in. I think it's particularly tricky when you've got the sun coming up, dazzling, and that's probably not a good time to do it. This is a reasonable time, the transitional time for single stint. The other thing to remember here is, particularly with the LMP2 cars, those stints are quite short. It's about 40 minutes, so you can take an opportunity to put somebody in when actually you think track conditions, traffic conditions are reasonably good for to actually burn that time. And I hate to refer to it as burning that time, but that's the reality. You've got to get through that to get to the honeypot, which is the pro pace, which is what they're looking for to make a difference. A Ferrari on the wall, it's one of the AM cars.
Facing the wrong way.
Facing the wrong way in the Porsche curves where there is no runoff, and actually got safer barrier around that area.
That is the 52 car with the Carrera Bandit branding on it. The 52 is in the wall, and that is a horrible place to go off.
Alexander West aboard that car right now. We're going to safety car conditions.
Is that our first safety car?
That is our first safety car, and that neutralizes the field. And this is now a big strategic moment for all the teams and drivers. And Jean Todt and Gerard Neveu in race control right now, watching over Eduardo Freitas doing his work. I think actually he's going to be able to, yes, he's going to be able to move it himself. But has he got the lock on? Can he do a spin turn?
He needs sight of what's coming. He's got damage on that side. That is clunked.
I mean, if he was pointing the right direction, he might be able to limp that home, but he's going the wrong way up the track.
I think he's trying to get it to a place of safety. Oh, that's a big hit.
Whoa.
Oh, look, Alexander, super keen. Alexander West, Swedish, owner of the Garage 59 effort in GT World Challenge with Aston Martin, also races at the Nürburgring. He'll be in the Nürburgring 24 Hours next weekend.
And if he was pointing in the right direction, I think you could limp that home. But unfortunately, he's not going to get the lock to be able to spin that car around. So, safety car with 5 hours and 45 minutes gone of this 24-hour race. He's parked the car at the back, and that, with the arms crossed, means game over. What a shame. Another retirement from the Le Mans 24 Hours for the moment.
Let's wait and see. There's a possibility, but it did look to me like there's effectively 3 wheels on the wagon there. So what? He came in backwards, and then it was a big hit, the front end first. That's sickening, isn't it?
Yeah, you saw him crabbing back as he was driving it. So it's he's virtually driving it sideways with that damaged front. Yeah, I can't see how that's going to get back.
Now, is that obviously the driver, the next driver in tends to be suited and booted, ready?
I think that's Stefan Göring, isn't it?
Yeah, it was Stefan Göring. And this is the first of our safety cars. It's actually the first full course yellow as well. We haven't had full course yellow. We've had localized yellows for little things. But now the number 7 pits, Jose Maria Lopez. And how does this affect the Toyota strategy? It was advantage 7 throughout the race so far. The 8 has just pitted. This is the 9th stop for the 7. And depending on where the 8 was behind the safety car, we may well see the advantage that 7 had completely disappear. Brake ducting being cleared as well. Of course, pitting under a safety car means you lose far less time than you would do under green flag conditions. For the moment, not many people taking advantage of that. Pit lane is open, but they've already been collected by our 3 safety cars.
There's a certain point in your stint. Each team will decide at a certain point in their stint when it's worthwhile to pit under safety car. Obviously, if you've only done 1, 2, 3 laps of your stint, there's no point. You wouldn't pit.
And unlike in other forms of racing, with the different safety cars around the lap, it doesn't necessarily bunch them into one big crocodile. We've got 3 safety cars out there, right? Yeah.
Yes.
One just entering the Mulsanne, another at the second chicane, and then another coming up to the incident area at the Porsche curves.
No pressure. The president of the FIA looking over your left shoulder.
Not the moment you want somebody to come and watch you work, is it?
But it's a good moment for Jean Todt. Let's not forget, with a huge amount of motorsport experience at the sharp end, on his CV before becoming president of the FIA. World Championship winner, of course, with Ferrari and with Peugeot, both on road and off-road with the World Rally Championship.
He even took part as a co-driver in the Dakar Rally.
Safety car, normal, safety car. So it means that we want or not? Normal, maximum fuel saving, maximum fuel saving.
Yep, absolutely. Toyota being held at pit lane.
And that is the lead car.
Yeah, we're waiting for the safety car to come past so that he can join the
next queue.
Safety car is, well, there it is. That's the one he will join.
That's at karting at the moment.
So that was Norman Nato, wasn't it? And he was asking to pit. He's actually on lap 10 of his stint, so it's actually perfect for him.
And here we go. Rebellion 1 into the pit lane. Norman Nato. There's a good queue of cars behind him, some of which coming into the pit lane as well. It's just 2. It sounded like more from our commentary box.
It's because the rest of the field is coming through Ford chicane. This is that safety car train we saw coming past karting, which Jose Maria Lopez will join onto the back of. I'm sure we'll be hoping it's not too long a queue. It's not that bad. It will have cost him time.
Now, can we see which queue the 8 car is in? The 8 car has now inherited the lead of the race, so it's in the same queue. And so 8 will be ahead of 7.
And does. Kazuki Nakajima now leads the race.
And they're in the same queue.
They are in the same queue? No, they're not in the same queue.
Yeah, they are in the same queue, yeah. Because it's only just clicked in, so suddenly, as we said, it's kind of neutralised the strategy. That the 8 car has been out since its last stop a couple more laps, so they won't be on the same strategy exactly.
So how many laps on this stint for the number 8 gentleman over there? 7 laps. So they're coming towards the end of that fuel stint. These are the moments that can define a race. It's very early on to be making that prediction, but when you analyse the result of Le Mans 24 Hours, very often you're looking at something that happens.
Yeah, of course, in the old days, we had a lot of safety cars, and it really would change the race.
Yep.
Nowadays, we don't get so many. We get slow zones. We get, it's more advanced with the way they're able to slow the cars down. They've got the onboard.
But that means it's more difficult for anybody that's suffered a bit of a sling and arrow to get it back.
True, yeah.
That means you've got to do it on pace more often than not.
But then it's less likely that they'll be hampered by it.
We've just seen Norman Nato in the pits, still in the pits. Let's have a listen to what he has to say now.
Check the plank, don't the car is no damage, because it seems like we have no downforce.
Talk about damage to the front end.
Check the car.
Yeah. We did see them looking at the front. I didn't see if they changed the front end. It was certainly looking as though they may on that Rebellion number 1. It now sits in the pit shut, waiting for the next safety car to come past, and that will be in a few moments' time. Here it is. Now, this safety car queue has 4th, 5th, and 6th, and back from LMP2. So the front 3 have managed to get themselves in a separate safety car queue. And that has therefore created an artificial gap between them. Di Resta in the pits though, the 22, the 30 for Duquesne in the pits, the 27 with René van der Zande also in pits getting a service. Nothing much going on with that Ferrari.
That's a bad sign. That means it's likely to be parked.
Yeah, and it looks as though it's behind the barriers. So presumably, are we just doing the safety car to kind of neutralise the pack before we go racing again? Because there's not a huge amount of debris to clear up.
That was the car being recovered under its own steam, at least, to a place of near safety. Can he get the stricken 52 car back? And if he does, is the damage fixable?
Interesting to see where these LMP2 cars that were in a different queue then filter in terms of their competitors. Because as I said just a few moments ago, Will Owen in the 32 was in a different queue to Paul Di Resta in the 22, despite the fact that they were 3rd and 4th, but Di Resta's now gone into the pit lane. It would very much be advantage 37, who hasn't pitted, and G-Drive Racing have put themselves up there. 26, they decided not to pit unless we're still waiting for them to come round into, well, we are waiting for them to come round because they are in this 3rd safety car, so we may see them come into pits in a few moments' time. They will come in, potentially, and then they'll join the safety car queue. Their competitors will join the safety car queue. Car is definitely out off circuit, but they do have a...
That was actually his in-lap as well. To make matters worse, that's such a shame.
They do have a protocol to go through, the safety race control, so this is why we're taking a while. Even though this track is clean and the car is into a safe position, they do have to go through a set period of time and various different things. And you know, you've got to release all 3 safety cars at exactly the same time. You've also got to make sure everyone's behind a safety car rather than running in clean air. So a bit of a ballet for Eduardo Freitas to do with these 3 safety cars here at Le Mans. It's all gone quiet on the start-finish line as the safety cars make their way round the circuit. Keep an eye on who's pitted. We haven't seen Louis Delatraz in the 3 pit, so Louis may well now be back on terms in terms of laps with his teammate in the 1, because they were 1 lap down before we had the safety car period.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if there's any winners out of this. Less likely with 3 safety cars out there.
He may be pitted just before, because I'm looking at his data here, and I think he might have been 1 lap into a stint, or on the first lap of his stint when this happened.
Oh, okay, so we're just tending to Alexander West.
Yeah, that's a bit of a clatter.
There was there is no runoff area there at all. Safer barriers in front of concrete barriers.
It was a nasty impact because he went round, almost followed the contour at one point, but then it snapped and smacked, didn't it, the front left corner, which is what's done the damage.
Well, even more respect, therefore, to getting the car to safety.
Question, we've got Alan back in the box just doing something else at the moment. Alan, do you recall whether or not the GT cars have the medical light?
I don't think they do. I think it's only the LMP cars that have the medical light, which is an accident light that sets off an alarm within the race control, if especially for the doctors, if there has been an impact over a certain G. And but I think that's only related to the LMPs and not to the GTs.
No, that was a thought that might have been involved there, because it was a kind of whip, if you like, into the barrier when he came around.
Yeah, but it's a big side impact. You know, at the end of the day, you're going through there about 100 in a GT car, about 155, 160 miles per hour, 240 kilometers per hour. So if you scrub off speed, then you're still at 200 kilometers per hour when you've got a side impact, and that rattles you around a little bit. You know. Any racing driver that's raced here knows that you know, that when you do have a shunt, it's a quick one, and you do get rattled around even at the best of times. So I think there's a precautionary point as well as actually anything else.
Thanks for that. The medical lights innovation, relatively recent, and certainly adds to the safety aspect. Gives the, if you like, a red line for race organisers, those responsible for the safety of the drivers.
I think by the fact that he was able to drive the car back across the circuit, that kind of tells me that he's not too bad.
Coming to 6 hours into this 24 Hours of Le Mans for 2020. Toyota 8 leads Toyota 7 now by 10 seconds under this safety car period. Rebellion 1 ahead of Rebellion 3, and by Colles with issues a bit further down the leaderboard. Jackie Chan Racing DC are ahead of John-Eric Verne in the G-Drive Racing, and then Will Owen in the United Autosports. Those three are under the same safety car. The rest are in a different safety car queue. So we've slightly divided our LMP2 battle. The front three in Pro are also under the same safety car. David Rigon leads James Collado, the two Ferrari, 71 ahead of 51. And then Aston Martin, 97. Alex Lynn is also in that queue. Nicky Thiem is not. He's in a separate queue in fourth for Aston Martin. And in GTM, it is Aston Martin Paul Danilana ahead of Sally Yolok, who got aboard the TF Sport Aston, and then Andrea Piccini in the Iron Lynx Ferrari. And they are all in the safety car queue together, 3.5 seconds at the moment, separating them under these safety car conditions. We are under safety car conditions for an impact for Alexander West through the Porsche curves. We've only lost one other car officially, and that was Eric Maris in the Euro International number 11 car that had a very strange off at the S's along 26 laps into the race.
They didn't look a very hopeful group that car is coming back.